tested positive as well, this coming down today.
It's an outbreak in Cleveland, and it was probably unrealistic to think that the NFL playoffs would go off without them being untouched by COVID.
This is absolutely huge. The most important game in Cleveland Browns organization history.
He has done an incredible job as a first-year head coach, stepping in and leading us into the playoffs. It's a next man up mentality, and that's what you go with.
What's transpiring in Cleveland is not reinforcement or verification. It's just more of the same for us, like it has been, and for everyone else throughout the course of this journey.
Hello, what's going on, everybody? Welcome on into First Take. Thanks for being here with us. I'm Charlie Arnold. We got Max Kellerman here. Happy New Year, by the way, Max. Haven't seen you yet since 2021 has begun.
Happy New Year.
Ryan Clark also here with us. And guys, we have, as you just heard, some good news and some bad news to begin today's show. The good news, of course, Wild Card Weekend is upon us. The Browns in the postseason for the first time in 18 years. The bad news, though, they will be without one of the key elements of their team, that being their head coach, and that is because Kevin Stefanski has tested positive for COVID-19 along with 2 other coaches and also 2 other players. The game is still expected to go on as scheduled, and in making the announcement yesterday, the Browns said special teams coordinator Mike Prefer will serve as the acting head coach. Max, do you think that Baker can upset the Steelers without their head coach?
Yes, I do. I think he can. And in fact, I'm not backing off the pick, even without Stefanski, who is the coach of the year, in my opinion. Look, Baker Mayfield looked to me like he had something special in college. And he looked to the Browns also because they used the #1 overall pick in the draft on him, even though he didn't have a great 40 time and he wasn't that tall. And he had a big enough arm. It was but there were guys with bigger arms. And he was accurate, but it wasn't like he was Drew Brees or someone like that, right? But they saw something special in him. They drafted him #1 overall. Ryan Clark, it was you who said, I think, the most devastating thing about Baker Mayfield on this show, on First Take. Eventually, at some point earlier in this season, you said, look, he's just all right. He's okay. And that was devastating in terms of the perception of Baker Mayfield. And I resisted it at first. You know, look, he's had something special once. What happened? Well, maybe it was, Oklahoma and the Big 12 and receivers were wide open, and he really wasn't that good. And I kind of bought into that after a while. But you know what? He turned it around, and he's looking kind of special again. Is he independently great? Like, is he great no matter what the circumstance, like Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes? Or No, he's not that guy. Even a guy like Justin Herbert, you can see more talent, right? He's not that guy. He's like most quarterbacks. It depends on the circumstance. So when he had Hugh Jackson, the worst coach in football that year, he was no good. Greg Williams, he got better, but Greg Williams made a play call so bad this year, he's out of football maybe permanently now, right? Freddie Kitchens was maybe the worst coach that season, or one of them. And he finally got a good coach, and you can see in the right circumstances, he can ball. He can ball. But Ryan, here's the thing. Just because Stefanski's not there doesn't mean the circumstances aren't right for Baker Mayfield. He's got an excellent offensive line. Like a head coach, as you know better than I do, it's like in boxing when you see a corner man. Yeah, important work is done in the corner on the night of the fight, but is that the most important work? No, the most important work is in the training camp, right? Coming up with strategy, making sure you're in shape, making sure all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, all the technique is right, the attitude is right. That's what Stefanski's done. It's not like a zone blocking scheme in the run game goes away because Stefanski's not there.
Yeah.
It's not like arguably, certainly an elite offensive line goes away because Stefanski's not there. That stuff's still there. So the question is, do you believe that Baker Mayfield can deliver under pressure? I do.
Listen, I don't disagree that Baker Mayfield at times can deliver under pressure. This is not going to be an attack and trash Baker Mayfield session for me because we've watched throughout the second half of this season, Tennessee Titans, Baltimore Ravens. You go back to the game they lose Odell Beckham Jr. against the Cincinnati Bengals. We've seen him be special. But all of those special moments go and coincide with Kevin Stefanski. There's not a time we come on this show on a Monday morning and we're talking, Max or Stephen A is talking, and we separate Baker Mayfield and Kevin Stefanski. Everything that we see about his growth, the things we see about his progression, the things we see about his success come from Kevin Stefanski being able to manage Baker Mayfield through the run game and dial up the correct plays to get people open and put Baker Mayfield in the situation to where he's comfortable. That's gone. And I know you talk about the head coach and the work being done throughout the week, schematically, putting the programs together, making sure everything is set in the right place. But they don't get that, right? Even though they're on Zoom calls and he can be a part of that, he doesn't get to watch it on the field and see Baker Mayfield go through it and correct it. And the other part about this, Dominique said something very, very, very smart this morning. He said, you know, the decision making and the analytics of being a head coach, some of those things are science, right? They're scientific. You can teach somebody those, or you can hand somebody a sheet that says, this is when you go for 2. This is when you go for it on 4th down. But play calling is an art. And in artistry, right, you have to have a level or a base level of talent, right? You have to have a level of talent to be able to do that. Kevin Stefanski has that. But the art part of it is that I can feel, I can move when this line is a little bit off. I know how to change that and adjust that and make that work. That's what Kevin Stefanski has been for this team. When the run game needed to be great, he understood how to get it there. When he knew he had to get a big 4th down conversion, he knew that it was best to give Baker Mayfield the ball as a keeper so he could have an extra blocker. These are all the things that Kevin Stefanski knows and feels that have allowed Baker Mayfield to be in this position. They're missing other offensive coaches. They don't have an opportunity to get in the building, and this team hasn't had any continuity for 3 weeks. And by the way, the Pittsburgh Steelers looked a little good on defense against the Cleveland Browns. Mason Rudolph was able to get the ball down the field, even though Ward and Johnson were out in the back end for Cleveland. And I think they've seen some things that say right now the Pittsburgh Steelers are a better team than the Cleveland Browns. And I believe Kevin Stefanski is worth at least a touchdown. They do not win this game.
Well, look, is it harder for them to win? Yes. And after I said the thing about cornermen, you know, Cassius Clay before he was Muhammad Ali, right before he fought Sonny Liston, and Liston's corner rubbed, you know, liniment